Hey, what is up to all the real ones out there in the YouTube verse? My name is Sean, and I got Jesse over here, and we are about to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. We just got out of the theater. We just got home. We got back to our broadcast studio, and I'm excited to talk about this movie. Jesse, what about you, buddy? Are you excited?
I am dripping with quantifiable anticipation. So let's get into this review right after the jump. You know what you
What?
don't know is every time that music plays down in their back behind the scenes, there's a little dance number going on. Every time.
There is 100% every single time. You know what else that music means? That means that everyone watching this video should like this video and comment on it too. Comment on the video, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell. You'll know when we go live. You'll know when we drop a new video, which we do all the time. We like to have tons of fun here. But as we jump into this review, let us remind everyone, this is actually going to be a non-spoiler review. We're just going to give our quick thoughts, not too long, nothing too crazy. We can go full spoilers at another time because there are plenty of things to talk about.
Fresh out of the theater and my visit with Nicole Kidman, heartbreak feels good in a place like the quantum realm.
The quantum realm feels great in a place like the theater. Watch it in the theater too, because we can talk about that too. First is the visuals. Let's talk about the visuals. It was bonkers looking crazy.
There wasn't, like, once you get to the quantum realm, which is fairly early in the film, that doesn't really, it's not a spoiler. It's what the movie's about. Like, they give that up in the trailers. You get in there pretty quick. But once you do, there's really not much, kind of like Avatar and some really well realized worlds. There's not a second that goes by that's not dripping with imagination. And that was on full display. Love that. Would love to see a concept art book for this. Speaking to the effects, I will say the blending's not always the great. There's definitely a lot of like in the volume moments where there's people standing, and in comparison to other things going on, you're like, I don't believe this for a second as far as like where people are. But the effects themselves were very pretty.
Yeah. Everything looked visually fun and vibrant, and that was my blanket review on Twitter, which I posted. I was like, this movie was a ton of fun, and it looked visually fun. It was striking to the eye, and I do agree. Like some of there was maybe a little bit of wonkiness as far as the whatever green screen or volume or whatever they used for it, where it's like, all right, that looked, you could definitely tell there's no practicality to the set, no physical stuff going on. Even some like moments where there was like a hand touching a face, and I'm like, they could have just they was all CGI. They could have used a real hand. I don't know why they didn't in that moment.
Without zero context, that scene that you're talking about, at some point I broke and I had tears in my eyes and I was crying laughing, and I lost it. I went into like a total just tissy of uncontrollable laughter. So obviously some of the humor worked for me. I'll say a lot of the movie.
And maybe let's just transition right into that next. I think a lot of people, rightfully so, however you feel about it, utterly shit on Thor: Love and Thunder because the humor was too much. It was too jokey. It wasn't serious enough in parts. I think that Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania did the perfect job of actually blending the two. There was definitely some heartbreaking moments as far as like what is about to happen to our heroes and to the extra characters we meet, but they blended it really well, I think, with the humor. And they didn't just out and outright cut a dramatic moment with humor. They waited. They gave it its own time to shine, separate from the drama that was also happening. I thought the humor worked really well in this movie.
I think I will go just like a point below you as far as like the humor. I think the vast majority of it worked. There were some things where there's a lot of repeat jokes in this. It was kind of like Family Guy in that way, where they're like, it's funny the first time. It might not be funny the second and third time, but the fourth time you're going to laugh again. And they got me with a few of those different jokes. So there's some of that going on. When the scale and the stakes need to be felt, they often are, which makes me want to transition into talking at least briefly about the portrayal of Kang and how Jonathan Majors did, because that is a highlight in most reviews, whether people are taking a dump on this movie, whether they loved it. A constant is nobody's got ish to say about Jonathan Majors as Kang other than he was fantastic. but I want to get your thoughts on that. What did you think of Mr. Majors?
He definitely, from the first moment you meet him, you see that he is not the same. With once again, non-spoilers, he is not the same Kang we met at the end of Loki. Very much a different version of this person that's out there in the multiverse, and he played this with like subtlety, but also then ferociousness in certain parts when he really had to
And
be,
a
when he had to be
hidden menace.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely a hidden menace.
Phantom menace, if you will.
No copyrights from Disney. We're talking about a Disney property, so I guess it doesn't. I loved it. He was great. He was definitely he is the right choice to play the Kang in this film, and the Kang that's going to be in the Kang. What is the exact title? What was it? The
Kang Dynasty.
Kang Dynasty. I was like, I couldn't remember the word.
Directed by Destin Daniel Cretton.
Yes. I think I cannot wait to see Creed 3. Jonathan Majors coming up in just 2 weeks from now as well.
We got a sneak peek of his bicep, his Creed 3 bicep cameo in this movie.
Yeah, we saw that briefly in the trailer as well. And then there's also the magazine Dreams, which was getting a lot of a lot of good praise at a recent film festival. Marvel hit it big with picking Jonathan Majors to play this character as Kang, and he absolutely showed out as to why he's gonna be all over the MCU for the next 2 or so years. I can't wait. It was great.
Yeah, which reminds me, just stay tuned for 2 post-credit scenes in this movie, guys, to see the different ways that Kang may be involved moving forward. Right. I think is
in the greater MCU. I wouldn't say super important, but you definitely need to see them to fill out like the severity of what's going to come.
Right. What is to come.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the additions that we've had. We obviously have Catherine Newton coming in as Cassie Lang for the first time, and then as we saw in the trailers, and you can tell in the trailers, like some people are arguing back and forth, but I knew it was Corey Stoll, Darren Cross.
Right. Yeah.
You can see his face. So if that's a surprise to you, I'm sorry you didn't see the trailer.
It was less a spoiler than Henry Cavill showing up at the end of Black Adam.
Yeah, that's right.
Like they were like, "Oh, well, is he listed?" Yes, everyone knew it was Corey Stoll. We saw him in the trailer. We knew exactly it was him.
Now, without saying what his role or purpose is, I've seen a lot of complaints about the humor surrounding MODOK, or people are saying like, if anything doesn't work in this movie, it's MODOK. Sorry, that ain't me. I'm not that guy. I
was so on board.
Every time I saw his face, I wanted to pee my pants, and it's so hideous. But if you're gonna tell me that there's any other way to do MODOK, I don't believe you. I mean, they totally disband, obviously, the origin of how MODOK came to be, because that's a different character. It is. Right. But they were never going to do that in the MCU. Ant-Man is the only movie you can get away with having MODOK.
That, or if they did a crossover with like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and they melded MODOK and Krang together or something like that. I don't know. I know nothing about MODOK. I never read a thing about him. I had seen his imagery in like some sort of, animated cartoon movies or something like that throughout my childhood. Maybe saw some magazine covers with him on it or something. I knew nothing about, so I'm not tied to any origin story that I'm missing out on from the comic books or whatever. This was a perfect way to bring in this MODOK character, which is an acronym that stands for exactly what he does in the movie. Like so
a mechanical organism designed only for killing. MODOK.
MODOK. It was played very well. They used a character from a previous movie to kind of fill out this, this whole, instead of introducing a whole new character, we knew the backstory of this character, so we could kind of get on board with what his intentions were, essentially. And it worked for me. It was fine. It was totally fine. And exactly what you said. Every time you see him, you just cannot help but laugh. The comedy of it totally worked for me, and the comedy, the absurdity was not lost on the characters in the film too. It's not like they're all playing it straight. Right. No, they talk about it.
Absolutely, and I'll really quickly just say that Catherine Newton was fine. Like
Yes.
She didn't really pop off to me as being exceptional, but
Right.
she wasn't distracting. She filled the role, and it was fine. I do miss the adorable little Cassie that we had in the original Ant-Man films. Obviously, there's been a time jump and a recasting from Endgame,
Mhm.
and she's good. She's good enough.
She's good enough. I wouldn't say she was offensive in any way. I wouldn't say she blew me away. She did not. There was no necessary reason for them to recast Cassie in this film. I think they could have just used the previous actress, and I don't remember her name from Endgame. Forgive me,
Emma
but
Burnham first, something like
I
that.
don't. Yeah, I don't remember from Endgame, but I imagine that the reason that they recast her is because going forward, we're gonna see a lot more of her. If they are going like the Young Avengers route, then we need maybe an actress that can that has a name already that can do a leading type of role. So I guess they're looking at the long game as that in that one. I think the other actress could have served this role perfectly well, but Catherine Newton was fine, and she served it well. I would say, as far as actors go, Scott had a lot to do. This is his movie for sure, but also Michelle Pfeiffer.
And Michael Douglas. We got
Yeah,
quite a bit of
both of
Hank
them.
and Janet, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, as they both did a great job at filling out the way that their stories have twists and turns, and you find out a lot more about each other's backstory and stuff like that. And uh, you see more like Michelle was playing very second fiddle in the previous movie, where you just meet her at the very end, et cetera. This and that. She's a starring role in this film, and she plays. You see why Michelle Pfeiffer is the goddess that she has been for 40 years in film. Like she
You
did a
can
fantastic
almost
job.
call it Ant-Man Janet Mania.
Yeah, basically.
It is a lot of the story is focused around her and her experiences. And obviously, we are two people that seemingly so are on the positive notes. So if we were in
Mhm.
charge of like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, it'd be giving a thumbs up. Not the strongest thumbs up I've ever given,
No.
but like I had fun. And I remember when a lot of the negative stuff was coming out, people are like, "Hey, what do you think of the negative reviews?" I was like, if I come out of this movie having fun or
Yeah.
liking it more than I just put a tweet out today, and I was looking at every movie that kicked off a phase in
Mhm.
Marvel. So you had Iron Man 3, and then Civil War kicked off phase 3, I think, and then Black Widow kicked off phase 4. And so I
Yeah.
was like, if I like it more than Black Widow and Iron Man 3, I'm going to call that a success because it means it's on
Mhm.
the better half of the 5 openers for a phase, if that
Sure.
makes sense. And I did. I'll leave it at that. I like it more than Iron Man 3 and Black Widow.
Right.
I don't think I like it more than the first Iron Man or Civil War. But
I looked earlier as soon as the movie was over. I had pulled it up when I was looking through Twitter when we were waiting for the post credit scenes, and I believe it was currently at 49% Rotten Tomatoes from the critics and 84% from the audience. So I'd like to say that on this one, Rotten Tomatoes is wrong because the critics do not know what they're talking about, in my
and
opinion.
I will
It's
say
definitely not lower than a 3 out of 5. It's not, you know what I mean? Which is kind of how they rate their things.
I had a mixed audience when the last scene ended. The guy to my right just decided everyone should hear this. He said, "That was ass. Give me my money back."
Oh
And I
no.
was like, "Okay, well, we have differing opinions." I thought it was fun.
I'll
I had
tell
a
you
good
what,
time.
the guy to my right was Mr. Jake Berlin, friend of the channel,
Heyo.
Apocalypse and POV, and he was howling the whole time. Go check out. I'm sure they're going to do their own reviews, but make sure to check out Jake and Brian and the whole crew over there, and they will have their own sets of reviews. But we all came out of the movie theaters smiling. There was one person who was like, I was a little disappointed in Kang, like he wanted a little more or he wanted something different. But for the most of us, there was 6 of us, I believe, and 5 out of the 6 of us were like, thumbs up. This was good.
Hey, that's 5 out of 6. It's like 80 something percent, right?
Right. Exactly.
Or 90. Math.
Yeah.
Math is hard sometimes.
Math. It's too late. It's
Anyways,
11 o'clock at night. I'm ready for bed.
heading towards the wrapping up of this non-spoiler review, were there any negatives without getting into spoiler territory that stuck out to you, or anything come to mind?
Not without going into spoilers. I think there's a few minor gripes. I will say that I did love the score, and there's a great score for Kang too as well. Like he has his own theme essentially. Christoph Beck did a great job. I believe he came back for this movie as well. I would have maybe. I would say it didn't tie into the overall MCU as much as I would like to. Like maybe a character show up here, there, this, that, or whatever. But I mean, I think that's just over. That's just lofty expectations on a huge franchise like the MCU as a whole versus Ant-Man. It was Ant-Man's third movie, type of thing. It wasn't, it wasn't Captain America 3, which was Civil War, which was basically Avengers 2.5 versus
Right.
Ant-Man was very isolated on the Ant-Man family and their characters. So maybe I just wanted I wanted a little more of the MCU as a whole.
I will say I felt the loss or the lacking of the supporting characters like Kurt and Luis and whatever T.I.'s character is. And I didn't need them in the whole movie, but to not have them in there at all,
right.
There's definitely moments that they could have been. There's obviously the bulk of the movie takes place in the quantum realm, but not the entire movie. So there's places that they could have been, and I missed them a lot. So that was a negative for me. And there's also, we know Bill Murray's in the movie. Bill Murray's whole scene, despite having a couple chuckles, didn't land as well as I was kind of, hoping it would have. It does feel like something that could be handled differently.
Sure.
So there's a few B plots or things that were in the movie that felt unnecessary or just didn't deliver all the way. I did think Kang was great. For the most part, I love Jonathan Majors' portrayal. There's character decisions they decide to do at different points that I felt a little back and forth on. But overall, as a positive experience, I put it in the high like category. I'm shy of loving it, but it was a good time, and a good time's a thumbs up for me.
Absolutely. I will say, yes, supporting characters we missed out on, but I did love David Dastmalchian's new character he was playing and voicing. It is a voice. It is not an acting, outward acting.
Is Fed?
Yes, I believe so. And I did love that new character. So that was fun. But yes, we needed Luis.
He was
recapping
a whole
something.
new character.
Endgame. It was a whole new character. Absolutely.
If you've seen the movie, please tell us that you laughed at our joke in the comments down below.
You know.
Exactly. All right, guys. Well, is there any last thoughts that you have, Sean, about Quantumania?
Thumbs up. I can't wait. I can't wait to see more Jonathan Majors in Creed coming up soon. I can't wait to see whatever the next MCU. We're not getting a series, right? The next thing we will see is Guardians 3 in May, right? I don't think Secret War is coming out before then. They haven't given a specific date yet, so yeah.
Right. Okay, so we both had a good time with it. Hopefully you guys do too. Let us know your thoughts down below. Keep in mind this is a non-spoiler review, so try to keep the comments as spoiler-free as possible. We will try to get a spoiler review up on the channel at some point. We got a busy weekend coming up, but we appreciate you guys so much for coming by, liking the video, and subscribing to the channel if you didn't already. I've been Jesse. This has been Sean. It's been great having you. Until next time, real ones. Bye.